let's say, a Mahayogi, but at the same time, he is the god who is connected with the Parivar. He is the god who is connected with Shiva Parivar, and there's just so many depictions of that in calendar art and in different places. But let me just give you a brief background about Shiva and about Hinduism and about the gods. So, one number which is bandied about a lot is that there are 330 million Hindu gods and goddesses. Now, this may be an exaggeration, it is definitely an exaggerated number, but there is no doubt that we have thousands and thousands and thousands of gods. And what is interesting is that in the earliest text that we have, in fact the earliest text in the world, the Rig Veda, in that itself we already have a multitude of gods and a few goddesses. And from there we go on to the Brahmanas, to the Upanishads, to the Purans, and we start seeing sculpture, and you see that there are so many gods who were there in the Rig Veda and then are no longer here. Like we no longer hear about Agni as a proper god. We see Agni in the sacrifice, we see Agni when you're getting married, we see Agni when you pass away, but we don't see him as an anthropomorphic god. Varuna, we don't see. Indra, we don't see. So what seems to be happening within Hinduism is what we can call the Darwinian principle of survival of the fittest. Those gods have survived to this day, 2017, and perhaps beyond this, who have been able to be the ones who have fit characteristics. That is, they have just the right amount of myth associated with them, just the right amount of attributes, which can then further be added on, which can further be fattened. So let me tell you how that's happening. We see that with Vishnu and we see that with Shiva. Vishnu is very popular through his avatars. If he did not have his avatars, he would have probably dissipated. He would have probably vanished just the way Indra did. But an avatar system evolved with Vishnu. And a whole lot of different deities came within the fold of Vaishnavism. Now that was through the avatar system. In Shiva, we don't have a prominent avatar system, but how he brought different deities within his fold and became empowered is through what we call the family system. So he has a very powerful spouse who must have been an autonomous goddess, a goddess in her own right, Parvati, Durga, and he has very extremely popular Ganesha as his most important offspring. And he has the Skanda Kartikeya as well. And then along with that, he has this whole entourage of Ganas and Yoginis and Bhairavs and all kinds of groups, all kinds of people, different kind of forms of deities who are along with him, shown with him all the time. Now what I want to say is that Shiva, to begin with, was this god. When we look at him in the Rig Veda, he is this god who is hiding behind mountains, who's very fierce to look at. He has bows and arrows in his hand. His arrows and all his weaponry is very, very fierce and very pointed and can harm. Now we know the Rig Veda is a text of 1028 hymns. We get to know the popularity of a god by seeing how many hymns have been dedicated to which god. So Indra has the maximum hymns dedicated to him, maybe 300, 325. Then you have Varuna, you have Agni. Shiva, who's not even called Shiva at this time, has just 2.5 hymns for him in the Rig Veda. And Vishnu has even less. And so what do you think? You see, today Shiva is so popular, Vishnu is so popular, but they barely have a mention in the earliest text. Now what that shows is, these two characters, these two gods, developed over a period of time. They evolved over a period of time. And they got all kinds of accretions. It's like barnacles attached to them. They have all these different characteristics that come to them over the centuries. And they are very amenable to that kind of change. I'm not talking about Vishnu today, I just wanted to give it by way of comparison. We're going to basically be talking about Shiva, who is a lone character, not spousified, no wife, no children, nothing connected with dance, nothing connected with yoga in the Rig Veda, nothing. All of that comes by and by. But he has one thing that you will see even today, that is the opposites. The opposites meld in him. He is extremely fierce, he is killing, he is harming cattle, he is harming children, he is harming people, but at the same time he is being begged to provide medicines. So he is the god of medicines. And later on we also hear that he is called, one of his epithets is Vaidyanath, because he is the god of physicians. So he has both these characteristics. He's like paradoxical. It's anomalous. How can you at one level be a physician and a healer, and at one level be this? But then that is what it's all about. The contradictions, which we, with the Western way of thinking, we think they are contradictions. They are actually not really contradictions. Those who harm also heal. A harsh mother is not harsh if she beats her child and tomorrow she hugs the child again and makes the child cry and feeds the same child. It's like homeopathy. Poison kills poison. It's that kind of thing, which we can maybe just look at as some kind of, parallel to it. Now I'm going to start showing you slides. First of Shiva, and I will stop in the middle. I want to show you Shiva, how many different ways Shiva can be manifest. It is absolutely alarming to see some of the figures because you'd say this is not Shiva. And therein lies the mystery of Hinduism, and therein lies the beauty of Hinduism. There has been a constant give and take between the Brahminical world, the Sanskrit world, the Sanskritized world, and the non-Brahminical and the tribal. So as the Brahmins moved in, the whole subcontinent gets Vedicized or Sanskritized, people with their different deities are being incorporated. The people, sadly enough, are being incorporated as untouchables, but their gods are being given a very nice high place as different manifestations of Shiva himself, or even Ganesha, who is the son of Shiva. Ganesha shows up only around 5th century. And suddenly you have these long details in the Purans. Who is this Ganesha? How did he become the son of Shiva and Parvati? You can easily see that the incorporation is taking place. That's the modus operandi, the incorporation that takes place through the mythology. So I'm going to be talking a lot about mythologies, a lot about different stories that have brought them together, and I will show you how, even though these different deities are brought together, there is always tension. And that tension is wonderfully shown in the stories themselves. So I'll start off by showing you different images of Shiva. I'll stop there for a little bit, and then I'll show you Durga, and then I'll show you them together as a family. Is that okay? And I hope everyone can hear. I can use this now. Can we have start? Yes, I think we can just. Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? Is this working? Hello.
Volume.
Fan off. Hello. Yes. Can you all hear me? Is this better? Is it better? You can't hear. I think it's better now. It's better. Is there an echo? Can we have the fan off, please? Can you see? I'll go that side otherwise. I'll come here, Leva. Yes, that's better. Okay, can we just start seeing the various sort of, yes. So even today, it's amazing how the Shiva Murti is so popular all over the subcontinent as well as Nepal. And you'll see these huge images of Shiva. And what is really very interesting is that he's like a palimpsest. He's like someone who has history written on him. You have the Trishul, which goes back to the hunters and gatherers stage. You have the tiger skin, which also bespeaks of being a hunter. He has not changed his the way he looks from the time of the Rig Veda. We are told that even in the Atharva Veda, we are told that he wears tiger skins. People who are followers of Shiva wear tiger skin. And it's amazing how he hasn't been whitewashed. He hasn't been defanged, because you'll find a lot of defanging taking place where gods and goddesses are concerned. They're made to suit the changing times, which is basically a very puritanical way of thinking. So, but he hasn't, and you can see the way he is with his Chandrasekhar, with the moon, the Trishul, the snakes around him, the Rudraksh, and of course the tiger skin. Yes, change please. So here's another one, and you can just go a little faster. This is a very modern way of which he was shown, the one before this. This is a very modern way. You'll see a lot of murtis, you may be having them. Again, he is seen shown on a tiger, and again he's wearing the skirt of a tiger. Now, why they wear the skirt of the tiger? There are many reasons why you would wear the hide of an animal. And one of the reasons, of course, is that it's like a trophy. You've killed an animal, you wear it on, people will know that you're so strong. Another way, a reason why it's shown, is why it's worn, is because you are supposed to get the strength of that particular animal that you are wearing and that you are seated on. So unlike the Europeans who hang it on the walls, the Indians have made use of it and they sit on it, or they wear it on like you see Shiva. Now this is a very old image going back to 6th century, one of the earliest ones, and you'll find that he is what we call erect penis, that is ithyphallic. The term that is used in history and is ithyphallic, that is the erect penis. You'll not find this kind of images commonly at all. At some point of time, the phallus was removed and became the shivling, and it was further stylized where it didn't look at all anatomically like a male sex organ. And Shiva is not seen seated like this in what is called the Ardha Paryanak pose, very relaxed pose. With his Simhakati, in the text we are told that his waist has to be lion-waisted, very, very slim. And of course his Jata Mukuta over here. And it's a very beautiful piece from Madhya Pradesh in Sagar, placed near Sagar in Madhya Pradesh. And it goes back to 6th century. And I was very fascinated by this because I could not find any images where he is ithyphallic and he is shown seated like this. Next please. Now we saw how he's supposed to be lion-waisted. We come towards Lucknow, close to Lucknow, a place called Balia, and he's looking totally different. So this is also Shiva but looking very different. Now this is why I'm saying different localities, different regions, different people, their deity would be some village deity. But when you ask them, who is this? They'll say, oh, ye to Shiva ka roop hai. So they bring in the pan-Indian gods like Shiva and Vishnu, and that way the melding takes place between the local and the pan. Next please. Okay, here's again Shiva with his Trishul. Another image, yes. We'll have to go a little bit faster. This is Sadashiva with all the various cephalic, multi-cephalic and multi-armed and multi-legged. And this multi-legged is Chatushpad Shiva. Now he is four-legged. One reasoning or one interpretation behind that is that he has, these are the four limbs or the four legs of the Shaiva Siddhanta system. That is one interpretation. Otherwise we don't really have any myths as to why Shiva has four legs. We see this image only in Orissa and some parts of South India. There's one in Khajuraho. So it's not really popular all over. And this Sadashiva, to have that many heads, this is also a deep philosophical meaning behind it, that you're going higher and higher, and Shiva with all his wisdom. We won't go into that right now. Next please. This is from Khajuraho. Very typical, and this is, sorry, I'll just tell you one. Very typical, this is called the Tribang pose, when you have three angles on the way you stand. Very typical, the big mukuta over here, and extremely, like you can see, the half closed eyes, very typical of Shiva. Next please. Again, this is another Sadashiva. This was in the Bombay Museum. Next. Now again, this doesn't look much like Shiva, but what I was fascinated by, this is from the Lucknow Museum. I have wonderful students who, wherever they travel, they take photographs and they send them to me. I don't go myself, and they just get so excited when they see something, and ma'am, you have to see this. So they sent this to me. Now, to me, this is looking like he has plucked off his phallus and he's sitting there. Now there is a whole myth connected with that. When he gets very angry with the forest, there are these sages who are worshipping in the Daruvan forest, and they are worshipping Vishnu. And there's always cultic rivalry between Shiva and Vishnu. And he also doesn't like all that, he doesn't like that fanciful kind of rituals. Shiva is very simple in the way he wants you to approach religion. And so he goes there nude, and he goes and he seduces all the wives of the ascetics. And it's very funny because it reminds me of the Pied Piper of Hamelin, because we have these long descriptions in the Purans, how the wives are combing their hair, some of them are wearing on their bodices, some of them are feeding their children. In the middle of all that, they're leaving all that with one plait done, the other plait undone, and they're running behind him, and he's nude. I'll be showing you another one, in which he's ithyphallic, and they all find him so wonderful. So they go running behind him. Of course, the sages of Daruvan hate it and hate him. So they attack him. And that's one of the reasons why he gets the tiger skin, because they conjure up a tiger, and the tiger attacks him, and he kills the tiger, and he wears the skirt. And then finally, when he gets very frustrated with him, and they are all accusing him of being nude, then he plucks off his penis and he puts it down in the middle and says, now worship this. It becomes this huge blazing light of pillar right there before their eyes. And they all have to then worship him. So you find a lot of cultic rivalry in the Purans and many of the other texts between Shiva and Vishnu and the worshippers as well. Next, please. This was in Rambagh Palace. Again, it was just there. That's why this it was painted. It was on one of the walls, and nobody had really noticed that it was in the palette till I went, and I caused a little bit of excitement there because I wanted to take the photograph. And they said, "Oh, really?" Then they started peering and saying, "Okay." I said, "This is unusual. This is not very common, and you have it here in Rambagh Palace, and you haven't noticed." And they said, "No, we didn't know that it was something important." So next, please. Now this is again a very interesting movie. This is about 10th century. Shiva is always the marginalized one. The one who does not care for Brahminical norms or societal norms or mores. He couldn't care about anything. He couldn't care about caste system, untouchability. And that's why when you look at his followers, they're all these strange looking people. Some of them, he's a god who is there for everyone. So there are people who have disabilities. There are people who are not very nice to look at for whatever reason. There are people who are chandalas, so that is untouchables. And what is interesting to me in this particular one is chandals, around the 10th century especially, had to enter a village only when they would ring a bell, so all the Brahmins and higher castes could run hither away from them. Because God forbid, if the shadow of the chandal fell on the Brahmin, then he would have to do all kinds of rituals, right? So they had to carry a bell with them. So it's very amusing for me to see that Shiva here is carrying a bell. And he rings the bell. He's trying to show, I'm also a chandal, I'm also an untouchable. I couldn't care less about all your Brahminical norms. And this is him in his Bhairav form. This is the Khatwang with the skeleton on the top. Of course, he's nude, but as you can see by 10th century, there must have been a lot of discomfort with showing the erect phallus. So you will not find any images later on. Very rarely you'll find an image showing Shiva with an erect phallus. Next, please. Okay, this is his typical seated one with his multi-arm and that beautiful look in his eyes, half-closed yogic look. Next, please. This is him as Dakshinamurti, and he's seated under a peepal tree, and he's supposed to be facing south. No gods are supposed to face south. South is the side of death, but he faces south because he's also connected with death. When we're thinking of death, we're not thinking of something that's being destroyed, we're thinking about regeneration and us all doing much better after death. That's the kind of philosophy that is given. He's also known as Mrityunjay. So this is Shiva as Dakshinamurti. Next, please. Okay, this is again the only incarnation of Shiva that is known. It's called Lakulish. And again, erect member. This is a very early image of about 2nd century. And he was supposed to be an incarnation of Shiva, the 27th incarnation of Shiva. We really don't know anything much about the 26th incarnations, but that is what we are told, that he was a person who was actually living. And he is, look at the way he's clutching on to the laguda. Laguda means the stick. This manner in art history, when we look at that, the way he's clutching onto it, that itself symbolizes aggression. So he was showing aggression to all the other cults that were around, including Buddhism, Jainism, and Vaishnavism, that nobody better mess with us. Okay, so these were the earliest, and by the way, Shaivism has the earliest sect. It's the first sectarian religion. The Pashupatas were a very prominent sect of Shiva. Next, please. Okay, this is now a magnificent Bhairav Murti. As you can see, this, the whole the way it has been depicted, and he's in this Bhairav form. It's a huge Murti, and this is in the Kalinjar fort, which is in UP. And you can see him, he is supposed to, in the darkness, in the dark world, in the ether world, netherworld, in the ethonic world, he is supposed to be ecstatic. In all the darkness, ecstasy is being seen here. Of course, we know they were, Shaivism and Shiva is always involved with hallucinogens. So with the help of hallucinogens, there's no doubt you can see the ecstasy of Shiva. Next, please. You can see another one from Kalinjar. This is of him dancing. You can see how huge it is with this man here. I don't know who he is, but this is another one from that same fort in Kalinjar. Next, please. Okay, that's just the same one. Next. Okay, this is absolutely fascinating to me. Some of my friends here have visited this, I have not, but I was so fascinated by it that when my first book was coming out, I begged the publishers to have this as my cover. It is the cover of my book. Now, nobody knew please keep it there, we'll keep it back. Nobody knew what this was all about. Who was it? They were saying it was a Gana. Even now some people say a Gana, that is a follower of Shiva. But I have found inscriptions in this area, that is around Bilaspur, which is today in Chhattisgarh. I have found some inscriptions which are talking about a big image of Shiva whose feet were washed and worshipped. And since we haven't found anything else in that area, this could possibly be that particular Shiva. His epithet that is used there is Bankeshwara. That is the god of Banka, that is the god of robbers and barons. Shiva is supposed to be the god for all kinds of people who are marginalized, including robbers. This is an interesting image. It's about 7-8 feet high, and it's a conglomeration of various animals. And so you have the snake turban over here, you have a lizard, my friend Ratna hates lizards, you have a lizard for the nose, you have a crab for the mouth, you have peacocks for his ears. You come down, and believe it or not, we had a sense of humor because the erect phallus is a tortoise. So, I mean, it can go in, it can come out, it's a tortoise. And then you have these faces here on the stomach, and you have these images, these look like lions. Now, I was trying to read up a little bit on this because there's not much written about it. It is possible that the joints were considered extremely important in tribal areas. This may have been a tribal deity who was incorporated within Shaivism. So you have a lot of that happening. The tribes are being brought within the fold of Brahmanism, within the fold of Shaivism, and being given up, their gods are being given a place, which I think is very nice. This famous sociologist Andre Bette said that it's so nice that we accommodated their gods. Why could we not have accommodated their people a little nicely? Because we didn't, we made them untouchables. Okay, but we accommodated their gods. Maybe we thought they were too powerful, maybe we thought that wonderful manifestations, wonderful art, wonderful variety. Next please. The other one is also the same image. It's kept in Chhattisgarh. And in fact, when Chhattisgarh was being made into Ajit Yogi, the chief minister, when it was being made into a state, this is one of the main things he wanted to put out as for tourism. He said, this is so magnificent, you won't see this anywhere else. Everybody was talking about it. Yes, next please. This is again a Paramurti. You can see the Khatwang, the skeleton. Next. Or the dancing Shiva Nataraj, which I won't have time to talk about, but Nataraj next. And this is Shiva, again from Lucknow Museum. Sorry, the glass was there, so my student didn't take it properly. As Mahayogi. We are in India, Indian sculpture, Hindu sculpture, we are fascinated by the rib cage. So whenever we want to show somebody doing tapas, anybody doing hard tapas, the first thing that we see is the rib cage. And so you see the rib cage, you see his face. This is Shiva as Mahayogi. Next please. Yes. This is a kapal, this is a skull, bowl through which he eats. Next please. Shiva again, with his Khatwang, the Trishul, and as I told you, not the phallic there. Next please. Here he is shown with the Matrikas. He was associated with women right from the earliest times. So you see him associated with the 7 mothers, and these are goddesses. You still are not seeing him with Parvati, but he is associated with the Matrikas. Next please. That's a similar one. Next. Okay. Now we come to Durga. Now, what I want to say about Durga, it's not surprising to me that Shiva should have such a wonderfully autonomous wife as Durga or Parvati. He is that kind of god. He is that kind of male who can take the power of a woman and who can have somewhat an egalitarian relationship with her, if you can talk about egalitarianism in the celestial world. So we find that Shiva and Parvati are constantly having tension between each other. Firstly with Sati was the first form of Parvati. And firstly when he married Sati, he did not want to marry Sati. We know that Shiva was completely against any form of sexuality. When you see the erect phallus, and many students question that, how can it be an erect phallus? How can you show him phallic and then say he's not associated with sexuality? Well, the erect phallus is only erect till it sheds its seed, and he does not shed his seed. He will not. Both his children are born parthenogenetically. They have nothing to do with Shiva's seed directly going into Shiva, into Parvati, and Parvati having a vaginal birth. That does not happen. So we find that this wonderful goddess Durga, who was also an autonomous goddess who you will see many images of her alone. I'm not surprised during Durga Puja every October, you see just Durga. You see a tiny image of Shiva somewhere at the back. It's like token, like let's just put him at the back there. No, she is this powerful goddess. She's this goddess of warrior. She loves to go into battle. And when people try to tell me